episode of the Cozy Cottage Crochet podcast. My name is Hannah, and this is a podcast all about crochet, a little bit of knitting, sometimes sewing, and generally living the yarniest life possible in St. Petersburg, Florida, where I live. I want to say a huge hello and welcome to everybody who is coming back. Thank you so much for coming to spend some crafty time with me, and if you are a new viewer, hi, welcome. I just want to say before we jump in that if I seem a little low energy and like a little not my normal self, it's because I am low energy and I am not my normal self. I have a cold. So I have tea, I have a bag of cough drops over there, and we will see how long my voice lasts, hopefully through the entire episode. I'm a little all over the place. I slept a lot last night, and I'm probably gonna take a nap after this podcast episode is done, for sure. But hopefully we will be able to get through this with no problems. I did want to say also that the tea I am drinking, because you guys are always interested in that, is this throat coat, lemon echinacea. Now, you have to get the lemon echinacea kind. The regular throat coat is not as good as this. This is by Traditional Medicinals. This is one of my favorite teas of all time, not just because of how it makes my throat feel. It really does make your throat feel better, like way better, but also it tastes delicious. The regular throat coat doesn't taste so good. So you're gonna have to bear with me while I drink a lot of tea during this episode, but that's okay. We are gonna make it through because we have so much to talk about. I have many things to show you. There is, well, first of all, we are running a year-long make-along called the Year of the Sock 2019. So I will put the hashtag on the screen, Year of the Sock 2019. If you want to participate in that, you can crochet socks, you can knit socks. We just have a chatter thread going in the Ravelry group, which you will find linked directly down there. There will be one prize per quarter drawn from that thread, and some of the socks that you guys are making are just incredible. I have a ton of sock progress to show you today. But wait, we are going to be starting another make-along right now. In fact, it already started. If you follow me on Instagram, you will know that it already started. Sneak peek, because I know in the last episode I said I was going to take a little bit of a break, but you know I can't help myself, okay? You guys, you know. So this is the new make-along. It is called The End of the WIP. Now, you are supposed to sing that to the tune of, it's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine. Don't ask me who that's by. I don't know. But it's a pretty popular song. Or at least it was. I don't know. I'm getting old. It's probably been a while. So we're having a make-along at least until the end of July called The End of the WIP. Hashtag The End of the WIP. So you can do literally anything. There's no rules. I love make-alongs with no rules. You can make whatever you want. You can crochet, you can knit, you can spin, you can weave, you can sew, you can embroider, you can cross stitch, you can do anything you can think of that's crafty. The only thing you need to do is focus on finishing. Now, some of you might ask, well, if all I have to do is focus on finishing, does that mean that I can start a new project and then focus on finishing it? Yes, it does. There's only one rule that you have to focus on finishing. If you would like to bend that rule to fit your crafty life and cast on a bunch of new projects and then focus on finishing them, you can totally do that. For me, I am trying not to start new projects until I get a little bit of space in my WIP basket. And I think summer is actually a really fantastic time to work on finishing and to work on our WIPs, because I know a lot of you do Christmas gift knitting, and when the weather starts to get cooler, we instantly are like, oh, cast on all the things, the sweaters, the shawls, the hats, I need everything new. And then our WIPs just keep getting forgotten. But we started them for a reason, right? So if you look at your WIP and you hate it, then pull it out, frog it. Don't waste your time. But if you look at your WIP and you need to finish it, or you want to finish it, totally do that, okay? And we have a chatter thread and a finished objects thread set up in the Ravelry group already, which you will find linked to down below. Remember, no rules, just right. All you have to do is focus on finishing, and I have been focusing on finishing the last 2 weeks, and that gives me 1 finished crochet project, 3 finished pairs of socks. I know. And I I'm trying to be kind of monogamous. If you've ever watched Katie from the Inside Number 23 podcast, she hasn't posted in quite a while. But when she would focus exclusively on one project, she would say she was a monogamous, which I think is the cutest thing in the world. So I have been a monogamous, finishing project after project, and I'm going to hopefully keep that going because I really, really would like to get some of these things completed and give them the attention that they deserve so that I can go on to new things without feeling guilty and without having my WIPs take over my living room, okay? So all you have to do to join this is chatter in the Ravelry thread, post your finished objects, post on Instagram using the hashtag #TheEndOfTheWIP, and I am so excited to see what you guys have made. And literally, when I say no rules, I mean no rules. Like, if all you have to do is weave in the ends on a project, do it. That counts. If all you have to do is block a project, that counts, okay? There is no, like, you have to only have completed 50%. No, just work on finishing. And if you want to start something brand new and then finish it all the way too, that's completely fine as well. If you are looking for me anywhere on the interweb, you can find me as the Cozy Cottage Crochet. I am most active on Instagram, although everything I do on Instagram is cross-posted to Facebook, and you will find links directly down below. I know some of you want to stay in touch in between the podcast episode, which is super sweet. The best place to do that is on Instagram. I usually post actual photos like once or twice a week, and then I'm pretty active on my Instagram stories. So if you want to interact with me in between episodes, that is absolutely the best way to do it. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, blah, 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 anything related to the podcast, please do shoot me an email. My email address is thecozycottagecrochet@gmail.com. Okay, before we jump into my finished objects, I have a very special announcement to make, and that is, what am I wearing? It is my Lake of Nine shawl, which I will take off and show you, because it is finished, and for me, a design, this is a design. When it's finished, that means it's published on Ravelry and is available. So it is available. This is what it looks like. It's worked from side to side, and so you have solid panels broken up with lace panels. Am I showing you the right side or the wrong side? I don't know. You can't tell from back here. So this is called the Lake of Nine shawl because it is inspired by the God of War 2018 video game, where there is a hub in the game called the Lake of Nine, and that's kind of where all of the gameplay happens. So the Lake of Nine shawl is inspired by that, as well as one of the runes in the game. Let me see. I think if I hold it this way, I don't know which way it's showing up on the screen. It might be showing up backwards. I don't know, but it's inspired, the shape of it is inspired by one of the runes in the game. And then of course, if you hold the lace panels sideways, you will see that it makes the Roman numeral for the number 9. Nerd life. So I know some of you have watched the announcement video, and thank you so much for all of you who have supported this pattern release so far. I will leave a link directly to this pattern down below if you would like to make it. I think it's perfect for summer because it's very lightweight. It uses fingering weight yarn. It uses no more than 2 skeins, and it will work up pretty quickly actually because it keeps increasing and decreasing. So you're never going to get to a point where the rows are like a million miles long. Now, I do want to say, kind of tangentially related to this, that I have gotten some messages from people recently saying that they started crochet podcasts, and I think that that is so wonderful. Now, to be completely honest, I am behind on the ones that I subscribe to, and I don't know when my life is gonna let up to let me have some time to watch more crochet podcasts, but I want to say I want to support you. So if you are a crochet podcast, you can be new, you can be old, it doesn't matter how long you've been around, but if you are a podcast that has crochet in the podcast somewhere and you like to focus on crochet, let me know if you do some kind of make along or cowl or anything like that, because I would be happy to donate some of my patterns as prizes, especially my newer ones. Would love to donate patterns as prizes and support you in any way that I can. Now, if you are a podcaster and you would like to contact me about patterns for prizes, there is a very specific way you need to do this, okay? Because I will not be able to keep track of all of this in a multiple contact scenario. So if you would like some patterns as prizes, I am so happy to give them to you, but you have got to send me a Ravelry message, not an email, because my filing system in my email, like I get a lot of emails and I try to respond to every single one, but I don't know if I'll be able to keep them in a place where I can keep them organized. So if you are a podcaster and you need to send me a Ravelry message with the name of your podcast and what kind of cow you're running, and I would be so happy to respond to you and donate some prizes. Do give me a couple of days because, as I said, I'm not feeling very well. So I'm mostly sleeping and not doing work. But I would love to support you, donate some copies of my patterns as prizes, and hopefully you will be able to gain more following. And I think the more crochet podcasts that we have around, the better. The rising tide lifts all boats, right? The more people love crochet, the better it is for every single person in this community, and I'm so thrilled. So I may not be able to watch right away, but I definitely want to support you. But you must send me a Ravelry message. Don't send me an Instagram message. Don't send me an email. Don't send me a Facebook message. Definitely don't send me a Facebook message for any reason ever, because I will never see those. And then I will be able to respond to you and keep them all in one place. Okay? Okay. Let's jump in to the yarny business. I have a finished object that is going to require me taking this finished object off. Oh, I'm so excited. This is the crochet project that I have been working on almost exclusively for the past 2 weeks, except for the last couple of days after it was finished. I have been working on something else, which you will see. It was living in my sheepy bag that I made out of a tea towel that I got in Ireland when we were there last year. And this is a pattern design. So what is in here is my Tunisian crochet hook, because this is a Tunisian project. This is a 4.5 millimeter Denise Tunisian crochet hook. I love these hooks. If you are doing Tunisian crochet, I highly recommend them from personal use. The yarn that I am using is this Life in the Long Grass Studio yarn that I also picked up. So the tea towel I got in Ireland, the yarn is Irish, but I picked up the yarn in Edinburgh. So this colorway is Dreaming, and this is Rosebud. And they are both, I believe, 75-25, let's see. 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. I have not weighed it to find out how much I have left, but I'm assuming it's about the same amount of each one. And I have finished it. Now I haven't woven in the ends yet because I just want to make sure that I was happy with the seaming. But the Tunisian Zen Cowl is done. And you can see the pattern. Get my ends out of the way. You can see the pattern. So we have a small diamond and a big diamond, and then it goes into the same pattern, goes all the way through, and this is where it joins the pink, and then this is where you seam it. Now the way that I started the pattern, so you see that these two diamonds don't exactly meet each other like they do here. So this has some Tunisian simple stitch right here before it goes into the Tunisian knit stitch in the pattern. So I personally really like that. I will include an option for people in the pattern if you don't want to include this part at the beginning and the end. Now if you wanted to make this a scarf and not seam it up, you could totally do that, but I would recommend including these last little bits. I like it because it gives me a focal point, like I know that that's the back of the shawl. And then I have made it exactly long enough to wrap around twice and be snug but not choke you, because I cannot stand it when things are so tight around my neck. I know some of you guys really like that, like really tight cowl kind of thing. I assume you live in very cold places. I can't handle that. Like I don't like anything around my neck that tightly. So I made this just a little bit loose but still tight enough to give you some warmth, and I just am in love with it. I have loved every single moment of working on this. The yarn is incredible. The Life in the Long Grass Studios yarn, oh, so amazing. I am dying to get my hands on some more already. Just being able to use the yarn that I got when I was in Edinburgh and the bag that I made from the towel that was in Ireland, it's just like so special to me. because now I've just been thinking about the trip the whole time, and especially because this particular cowl is called the Tunisian Zen Cowl for a reason, because you have to count. Now the pattern is fairly simple. I'm gonna take it off. It doesn't require like a ton of brain power to do the pattern. You just have to count. So eventually you will get to the point where it's kind of intuitive as to what you're supposed to be doing, but you kind of have to count on both sides to make sure that you don't drop stitches and do anything weird, etc. And the reason for that is this is not supposed to be a pattern that you can just fly through in like a day or two, because it's for mindfulness. So if you are feeling stressed, if you are feeling anxious, if you are just needing a little bit of Zen time, this pattern will be for you, because when you're counting, it engages another little part of your brain so that you can't stress out. Now, I know, of course, crochet and knitting is mindful to begin with that repetitive, soothing kind of motion, but this adds an extra layer. Now, I have not written up the pattern yet, and hopefully I will be able to do that soon. I just don't feel very good, so it is my goal to work on that in the next couple of weeks, and then hopefully get that out to testers in the next month. I know this has taken longer than I thought it would to get this pattern completed and ready, but honestly, I think that's okay. That is the point of this particular pattern, right? Is that you work on it when you need to work on it. And that is exactly what I did. So I love everything about it. I adore the colors. I adore the yarn. I love the pattern. And I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled. So thank you to everyone who has reached out and said that they love this pattern so far. I'm working on it, but it'll still be a little while, but I have actually finished the crochet on it, which makes me incredibly happy. And now that I've finished that one, I will hopefully be able to go on to some more designs that I have in the pipeline. Are you guys ready to talk about socks? This episode is probably going to be titled The End of the WIP, but honestly, it should be called Sock Parade, because as I mentioned, I have three pairs of finished socks. What has happened in the last 2 weeks? One of the pairs I finished last night, and with the last finished pair, that makes 11 pairs for this year that I have made so far. Now 10 of them count towards the sock theme cowl 2019 that Claudia of Crochet Luna, hi Claudia, is running on her podcast, because one of those pairs was the Volda socks, which I hated working on with every fiber of my being, although the socks themselves are fine and I find myself wearing them quite a lot. But so I've made 10 pairs for the sock theme cowl, and that leaves me only 2 pairs left, and one of them is already on the needles. You will see in WIPs. But let's talk about finished socks, shall we? I'm gonna put this back on because my throat hurts, and I want my throat to be all nice and warm. I always feel like that helps when you have a cold, to like keep your throat nice and warm. Is that a thing? People say that. I don't know if it really matters. I'm gonna again, I don't want it to choke me. Are you ready? I have sock blockers. I have sock bags. Let's get down to business. Sock pair number 1. These are my July socks. Now, last episode I showed you the August socks. My July socks were not quite finished. So this is the yarn. This was a lovely gift from Julie, who is in the UK. She sent me a ball of West Yorkshire spinners, and I have been telling you guys on the podcast that it was the colorway Atlantis, and that's absolutely incorrect. And now I can't remember what the colorway is. I went to put it in Ravelry and I was like, oh, there is no colorway Atlantis. So it's West Yorkshire spinners 4-ply. The colorway I believe is 851, but I don't know what that is. But I have the correct colorway in my Ravelry page for these socks. So I have never worked with West Yorkshire spinners yarn before. I really, really, really loved it. It was such a pleasure to work with. It feels very sturdy, but at the same time, it doesn't like hurt my fingers. And it's self-striping. So this stripe, I was just like, one more stripe, one more stripe, one more stripe. And the contrast yarn that I was using is Lang Shawl in the colorway 0003. It's like a charcoal gray, which we will talk about that in a minute. But here are my finished socks. I love them. I love everything about them. The prompt for July was chilling out. And I think that this perfectly encapsulates the prompt for the sock theme cowl. Like, look at these stripes, you guys. Now, I'm pretty sure the stripes are supposed to look something like this, but most of mine are kind of all over the place. I don't care. I think that adds character to my socks. Obviously, my tension is a little weird for these socks, but these have had their ends woven in, and they have been washed, and I actually wore them for like an hour, and then I was like, okay, I need to put them in my basket to talk about at the podcast. So this is sock pair number 1. These are my July socks. I highly recommend the West Yorkshire Spinners yarn. It was a pleasure to work with, and it washed beautifully. And it's the stripes, you guys, the stripes. So this is sock pair number 1. But wait, there's more. These finished socks were living in my flamingo bag that Kalisha of the Corky Monday Craftcast made for me. And so that was pair number 1. Pair number 2, I also used Lang Yaoul for the heels, toes, and cuffs, but this is the colorway 83.0388. I don't know. It's like a teal. And then the actual sock was using Regia, I believe is how you say it in German. Regia. I don't know how to say that word, but it's their 4-ply, one of them, in the colorway 5025. This is what it looks like in the ball. This is how much I have left. I don't know how much that is. Maybe 20 grams, possibly. These are finished too. I will say I've never worked with Regia before. And so it was a really interesting experience because Regia has like a 10-year warranty on their yarn. I mean, who sends socks back to them? I don't know. But they have it printed on the label that you can send, if your socks wear out in 10 years, you can like send them the yarn and they will replace it or make it right somehow. And I've never worked with Regia before. And this is the colorway. This is what it looked like. And I will say, when I was actually working with this yarn, it made my tension look a little ridiculous. And it's definitely the yarn, because my tension when I'm sock knitting is very even and tight, and like, it's how I roll, okay? But my tension looked crazy, like it was all over the place, and it was mostly okay, but you could see the stitches. Like, some of them were big, some of them were small, some of them were weird shaped. And so I finished these, and then I weaved in the ends, I wove in the ends, I weaved in the ends. Somebody comment below and tell me what's grammatically correct here. I weaved them in last night, and I actually did a load of laundry just so that I could throw these in the washer and dryer and see if my tension, if it evened out, and it completely did. It looks perfect and uniform and adorable, and it's just the best now. Hopefully you'll be able to see that on the camera, which I've never really had that happen when I was knitting a sock before, that the tension looked so crazy, but blocking will fix every single problem. So all it needed was a little bit of, like, the yarn just needed to be washed and relaxed. I washed these on warm cycle. They got thrown in the dryer, a tumble dry, like more dry, not the one you put your towels on, the other one. So they're perfectly fine. If I cannot throw my socks in the washer and the dryer, I'm not gonna use that yarn for socks. I cannot be bothered to hand wash socks. They are going on my feet, okay? I'm not gonna spend my whole life doing laundry. And of course, Regia is supposed to be like super, super, super hard wearing. And I can just tell by looking at these socks that not only has the tension evened out, but that the stitches themselves have kind of locked into each other, and it's a sturdier fabric than it was before I washed and dried them. So I'm really, really happy with these. This pair is for September in the sock theme cowl. And the September's prompt was from the library, which I thought was really interesting, because Regia has such a library of sock yarn. Like, most of their sock yarn, like, you can't even get anymore. They release new kinds constantly, and then they just retire the old ones, and they have a lot of one-offs, like the Arnie and Carlos yarns and all kinds of things. You just can't get them anymore. And I just thought it was really, really interesting both what it looked like, how it worked up, and that it was called from the library. So I thought it was perfect for the prompt, because Regia has an extensive library of sock yarn, and I really enjoyed working with the Regia, and I would totally do that again. So this is pair number 2. 2 pairs. 2 pairs, you guys. Okay, I need to put some of this yarn away before I cause an avalanche. But wait, there's one more pair. Let's talk for a second about how I make my socks, because somebody will always ask me, 100%. Even if I say how I make my socks, somebody's gonna ask. But what I do is I use the Sockmatician's Toe Up sock recipe. That is how I make all of my socks so far. In that recipe, he has a heel flap and gusset heel, and I have been substituting for my shorty socks the Fish Lips Kiss heel. I think on the longer socks that I make, I prefer a heel flap and gusset. But what I use is a 2.25 millimeter Chalgu red lace needle. I start from the toe, I do 12 stitches, Judy's Magic cast on, 12 on each side, and then I use magic loop until I increase to my sock number, which is 64 stitches, and then I switch to a 9-inch circular needle, also 2.25 millimeter, and I just go around until the entire sock is done. I do the heel and the cuff and the bind off and everything on a 2.25 millimeter needle. The only thing I will say is when I'm binding off, I actually use a crochet hook because my bind offs can tend to be really tight, and that's not so good for getting it over your heel when you're using socks. So I use a 3 millimeter crochet hook and I do the bind off that way. And I just do the bind off that he calls for, Sockmatician, in the pattern. And it is a fantastic pattern. It has video tutorials attached, and I highly, highly recommend it. If you are trying to learn how to make socks, look up the Sockmatician's Toe Up sock recipe. I do have a pattern for another pair of socks that a lovely viewer of this podcast gifted to me for the year of the sock, and I don't have it in front of me. I was looking at it earlier this week and I was like, oh no, no, no. I'm not ready yet. Not that I can't do it, it's just gonna require a little bit of concentration, and the socks are currently the only things that don't require concentration for me. Like, I have the entire thing memorized. I don't need a pattern. If I was gonna do a heel flap and gusset, I would need the pattern for the heel turn, just because I can't remember how many times to go back and forth and do my German short rows. But the Fish Lips Kiss heel is in my brain. I don't need a pattern. I don't need anything for it. So that is sock talk. Let's move on to the third pair. Now, I don't know what this yarn is. This yarn was a gift from Lydia, who is in the UK. And she sent this to me and she told me what it was. And then, of course, the paper, I had it with the yarn, and then my family came to visit and it all got moved around and smushed in the closet, and now I can't find the paper anywhere. It may have gotten thrown out, but I don't know what this yarn is, but I love it. It's really amazing. The contrast that I'm using is, of course, this Lang Yawool 0003. It's a gray, charcoal gray. I had a little bit of a yarn crisis with this yarn because I was just using this ball, just la la la, heels, toes, and cuffs, totally fine. I started like 3 pairs of socks that had heels, toes, and cuffs in this gray. And then when I got to the second sock of this pair, I was like, oh, I don't think I'm gonna have enough yarn. So when I measured what I had left, this is what I had left. This is 11 yards. There is no way that that would be enough for a heel. It might be close, but it wouldn't be enough. And I was like, oh man, now I don't know what to do for the heel of these second socks. And I really wanted them to be the same. So I went online, I was like, okay, I'll just buy another ball. Well, that turns out to be much more difficult than it sounds, because most places in the US do not stock this yarn. And if they did stock this yarn, they were out of this colorway. And it was on like back orders, you couldn't buy it. And then there was a bunch of places in the UK that stocked this yarn, but they would not ship to the United States. So eventually I found it on loveknitting.com. Now I don't know how many balls of this they have currently, but at the time that I bought this, they only had 3 of these left. So I like panic ordered 1 ball and then paid $5 in shipping. And it arrived just in time for me to finish these socks last night. So here are my socks. Now, this yarn, this is for the prompt, October's prompt, which is Season of Change. I'm pretty sure that's the prompt. And I think that this yarn is perfect for that prompt. And I would have never in my own life put these colors together, I don't think. And even when I was working up the first sock, I was like, this is weird. By the time it was done, like, I am in love with these colors. It even looks good on the screen. Like, I would never have paired purple and orange and green. Never, never. But I love how they work up. And look at this. They are identical. Identical socks. This took a little bit of planning, but this is why I did not want to mess up the stripe pattern with some kind of other, like, just keep going with this yarn and not have my gray heel. Now, I did do a cuff in this regular yarn because at the time I was like, oh, maybe I'll have enough. It was before I had measured and discovered that I only had 11 yards left. So I was like, I'll just do the cuff, not in gray, but I actually really, really, really like it. I love this yarn. It's like very sturdy. I'm assuming it's a 75-25 merino nylon blend. If anyone knows what this yarn is, let me know, because I honestly don't know what this yarn is, but I love it. It's showing up a little more, like these are a little more speckly on screen than they are in real life. They're not quite as contrasty. You can see like a little bit of contrast, but it's definitely not like that. It's more of a muted orange. But I am so happy with these. The ends have been woven in. They're finished. They just haven't been washed yet because I finished them last night. This is October socks. That means I have completed 10 pairs of socks for the Sock Theme Cowl 2019. And these are my pairs for this episode. Can you believe that I have 3 pairs of finished socks? Is that insane? It's a sock parade, is what it is. So that means my sock bags are now free to start many, many, many more socks, which we will talk about in a little bit. Let's move on to WIPs. That's all the finished objects I have. I say that's all like I didn't have 3 pairs of socks and a Tunisian crochet cowl. I'm just pat myself on the back. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The end of the WIP, y'all. I do have one more pair of socks on the needles, just living in my popsicle bag that Claudia of Crochet Luna got for me a long time ago, and it has been my sock bag for a year and a half now. It goes with me most places. I started a new pair. This is going to be my November socks, and the prompt for November, I believe, is comfy cozy. And I am using this yarn. Now, I believe you pronounce this Sauberball. You don't have a Z sound in this. I heard the Knitmore girls, that's who I heard pronounce this, but it was quite a while ago, so if you know German and you can pronounce this correctly, please let me know. I believe it's Sauberball, like a sound instead of a Z sound. But this is a ball of yarn that I got when we were in London, in the UK. I have been saving it just to make a special pair of socks with, and it is, I got this yarn at Loop, the coolest yarn store. It is 75-25 wool and nylon, and the color, I believe, is 1153 gun, I don't know, bunt metal. Is that how you say that? I don't know. I don't know, but that's the colorway. It is again linked in my Ravelry page, the correct yarn, because I am trying, you guys. I'm trying. This is the yarn ball, which I just captured my heart when I was at Loop, and I loved it so much. And so I started, and I have this much. I think I'm actually going to make a pair of tall socks with these, the heel flap and gusset, and I just want to use as much of this yarn as possible. I love it. It's a gradient, and it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. So that happened this week. I'm excited. This is pair number 10. No, that's not true. This is pair number 11 for the Sock Theme Cowl and pair number 12 for the entire year for me. And if, I just want to say, if you can hear a baby crying, that's because there is one. My brother and his girlfriend and their baby, their 3-month-old, live with us, and she is currently in the back room losing her mind. Probably because tummy time. She hates that with a passion. Like, I have never seen a baby hate tummy time more than her. But it's totally fine. That's just how my life goes around here. And I love it. I love, love, love having her around. So, let's talk more works in progress. Now, let's talk about knitting, first of all, because as we discussed in the last episode, I have been working on a project to improve my purling. I am not on good terms with it any more than I was in the last episode. It's a good thing it's beautiful. It is the Transition Shawl handmade by Cam. This is a pattern on Ravelry. It is a paid for pattern, and you can purchase this pattern, and it's linked in my Ravelry page. I think last time I just put that it was the Transition Shawl on the screen, and I had a couple people ask me about it. If you go to my Ravelry page, it will be linked there, and you can go directly to the pattern. So this is how much we have done. It actually has grown since the last time. This stitch marker is about where I was the last time, and I've done all of this green section, and I've just started to get into the gray. So these stripes are going to repeat, except in larger blocks. So here is 2 rows. Now it's going to repeat in 4-row increments, which is going to be a ton of ends to weave in. Ugh. But there we go. I've been doing like 2 rows on it, not every single day, but frequently, which is 1 row of knitting and 1 row of purling. I am trying, because my hand wants, when I'm purling continental, my hand wants to do this. But that's gonna hurt my wrist, and it does hurt my wrist after a while. So what I'm trying to do is keep my wrist still and just move my finger. I'm trying to build up the muscle memory to do that, which I don't have at the moment, so it's kind of like, I'm like tense, and I'm doing this when I'm purling. Which is why I really don't do more than 2 to 4 rows in one sitting on this project, because I don't want to like hate it. And it's so beautiful. Like, I don't want to hate it. I really don't. It's gorgeous, and it has grown, and it's going to be slow going because the rows are getting longer and longer, and they will just continue to get longer and longer. But if I'm not good at purling by the end of this shawl, then I'll just never be good at purling. But I think that's fine. I am using, this is all Valley yarns from Webs. It is a 60% merino, 20% silk, and 20% nylon yarn. And I have, as you can see, the green is the main color, and then I have light gray, dark gray, and a light green. So that is how big it's gotten. It's not a pleasure, but that's fine. Everything doesn't have to be great, and I'm only working on it two rows a day, and I'm not even keeping up with that. So that is the Transition Shawl, and hopefully very soon I will build up the muscle memory. Certainly by the end of the shawl I should be able to do this without turning my wrist. The other thing that I have been working on, and this has been since my Tunisian Zen Cowl was finished, I moved on to the next crochet project that I would like to complete. And I was actually looking for this bag the other day because I wanted to put something in it. It already has a WIP in it. Anyways, this is a bag that I got from Claudia of Crochet Luna. I purchased this from her Etsy shop. I love it. It's so cute. And of course it has one of her pins on it that says nobody puts crochet in a corner. That's right. Nobody puts crochet in a corner. And on the inside is lime green. So what I am making, this is actually a commission, and I really, really need to get this finished. Now, of course, it's the middle of summer, so she's not going to wear it very soon, but I do need to get this finished. So I am actually making one of my own patterns. This is the Pine Forest Cowl. This is the original. This is a pattern that is available on Ravelry. It's like subtly Christmassy. It's just got pine trees on it. And I am making it out of Knit Picks Stroll Fingering for this version. The one that I made in the pattern had a little bit of mohair in it, but I'm pretty sure that she would be sensitive to mohair and very itchy. So I got Knit Picks Stroll. This is the colorway Aurora Heather. It is a gorgeous green. It's 75-25 merino nylon. I have 3 balls of this because I think it's probably going to take about 2.5 balls in yardage, and I have completed 1 entire ball. Now this stitch marker is where I was the last time you saw this. I had completed like 1 tree, so I have done all of this. That's quite a bit. And this is going to be the project that I'm focusing on the most over the next 2 weeks. That's going to be crochet. And hopefully I'll have a finished object to show you next time. I have this beautiful little ivy stitch marker, which is not focusing. But that was made for me by Leah of the Sheep Happens Yarn podcast. The Sheep Happens Yarn yarn store, indie dyed yarn store. So I thought it was perfect for this. So you can see with the light shining through the little trees, and it's a very mindless, again, repetitive, like super comforting pattern. I love it. And if you want Christmas all year round, Pine Forest Cowl, that is for you. I'll leave a link to that down below as well. And hopefully that will be finished. And I will be a monogamous on this crochet project until it is done, because I need to give it to the person who ordered it from me. I just got like tea on my face. How does this even happen? How? Okay. I get a little bit of happy mail that I would love to show you and talk about, because some of it is related to make-alongs that we are doing. First of all, I got a bag, and I'm sorry for the crinkling, it's just gonna happen, okay? From a lovely viewer of this podcast named Victoria. And Victoria, I'm so sorry that I didn't contact you back and let you know that this arrived. I have been sick this week, but it did arrive this week, and I'm so excited because these are prizes. She wanted to donate some prizes to the podcast, and now we have the end of the WIP make-along going, and this is gonna be perfect. So there are, she donated quite a bit of yarn actually, 3 balls of each color in this blue wool-like. So this one is, I don't know what the color is. Color, navy blue. And this color is teal lake. So there's 6 balls total. And I really, really love wool-like. It does pill quite a bit, but it is an acrylic nylon fingering weight yarn that is very inexpensive. You can get it at Michael's. I love the colors. They're super generous. I have made several projects in wool-like, including my Blurred Lines sweater, and I have made at least 2 shawls in wool-like as well. That's not all. She also sent 2 knitted knockers kits. And if you have been around with the podcast for a little while, you know that we did the knitted knockers cowl last year around this time, and it was all about making as many knitted knockers as possible. We made, I believe, about 250 individual knitted knockers to donate to women who need prosthetic breasts after breast cancer surgery. So this set of yarn goes with one of those patterns. You get the pattern with it. There's a crochet one and a knit one. I love these colors. And then of course the other one is this yarn. So depending on what size you make, you could probably get 2 sets of knitted knockers out of all of these. 2 sets out of these and 2 sets out of the other 4. And I am thrilled to be able to offer that as a giveaway in the future on the podcast, because you guys know that I am a huge fan of knitted knockers and what they do. And I love to spread the warmth and give back as much as possible. So thank you so much, Victoria, for donating this to the podcast. We will see very soon in the future what those become. I'm not sure if they will be part of the end of the WIP make-along. Probably. Or maybe we'll do something special for the knitted knockers giveaways. Oh God. My throat hurts. We're gonna make it. We're almost done, okay? Okay. I got one more thing in the mail. Now, this is very exciting. There's a company called Hobie Yarn, and they're a Danish company, and they actually have been on my list to try for quite a while. A crochet hook is on the floor and it is stabbing me. Don't leave your crochet hooks lying around, people, and especially don't leave your knitting needles lying around. Someone will sit on them and it'll poke them. Anyways, their sock yarn has been on my list to try for quite some time, but I have not really been buying any yarn this year, and so I just haven't had a chance to buy it. And they actually reached out to me. A lovely lady who works with them named Alice reached out and asked if I would be interested in doing some kind of a collaboration with them where they send me some yarn to review. And I was like, yes. Is there anything that you want me to do? Like, basically I was asking, this is what I was saying. I'm only going to be honest with my feedback about your yarn. Are you okay with that? Because I won't accept anything from anybody who expects me to say a certain thing about their yarn. And she was absolutely fine with that. I will say, like, the customer service, I mean, they sent me this stuff for free to review, but I still got like the best customer service. She was such a sweet person. She responded to my emails like immediately, and this yarn arrived within like 6 days from another country. So she said, well, what kind of yarn would you like? And I was like, they have so much yarn on their website, and I mean, so much, honestly, and it's all really inexpensively priced, which is why it has been on my list to try their sock yarn, because it's very comparable in price to the Knit Picks Felici kind of yarn and the other Knit Picks sock yarns. So I'm interested to compare them, because I have made quite a few pairs of socks out of the Knit Picks Felici, 3 pairs I think, and it's incredibly soft. I love working with the yarn. It pills like nobody's business. Now, I don't really care about that because it's on my feet, so who cares if the socks are pilly, right? But I think it would be interesting to compare this yarn to the Knit Picks yarn because it's the same price point. And I know a lot of people are like, well, I don't know, sock yarn's kind of expensive. Knit Picks is much less expensive than if you go to buy it in an actual store. Like my Joann's has Serenity sock for like $6 per 50 grams, and Knit Picks Felici is cheaper than that usually. And this Hobie sock yarn is cheaper than that. So she was like, what kind of yarn would you like? And I was like, well, now that you mention it, we're running a year-long make-along called the Year of the Sock. So I would love to try out your sock yarn. And she was like, okay, well, tell me a couple of colors that you like from the website, and then we'll see if we can, we'll send you a couple of them in the mail. So I gave her like a list of a few different colors, and she sent me all of them. I got this giant bag of yarn in the mail, and I was like, and then I opened it and I was like, oh, she didn't just send me a couple of colors from the list of colors that I thought were pretty. Like, she sent me every single one. So I'm so happy to show them to you. Let me get everything out so that I can stop with the rustling. And she threw in a few little extras as well. So let's go over the extras first. She sent this adorable little mug that says knitting is my hygge, I believe. Is that how you say it? Hygge. Knitting is my hygge. Also a hand cream that is lemongrass. It smells very much like lemongrass, so if you like lemongrass smell, this will be perfect. And then she also sent this little notions pouch that says, I could give up yarn, but I'm not a quitter. That's really funny. So inside the notions pouch, there is a seam ripper, a giant cable needle, and a little cable needle, a tape measure. Ooh, there's 3 cable needles. I didn't even notice there was a 3rd one when I was looking at it originally. It must have been stuck inside the tape measure. A needle holder with a screw off top. Also a pink needle, and like this one has a bent tip and this one has a blunt tip. So you have 2 needles to put in there. And then a little thing of snips. Now, I don't know how well you're gonna be able to see this. You can kind of see that the snips are oily. Like, and I don't know if that's probably from the machining or something that happened to it. I don't really mind that because this is pretty inexpensive. I mean, she sent this to me for free, but on the website, this little kit is not very expensive. I think you could just wash that off with no problem. So, a little adorable notions pouch. I could give up yarn, but I'm not a quitter. So these 3 were completely extra, and they will be part of giveaways for the Year of the Sock, for sure. Probably the next quarter giveaway, which will happen at the end of June. I can count. I can count, you guys. But let's talk about the yarn. You're gonna make it. Make it, throat. Don't lose my voice. Okay, so she sent me enough sock yarn to make 6 pairs of socks, which is kind of crazy. And I will show them all to you individually so that you can see them. These are all sock yarn brands that Hobie has. So sometimes I believe that they sell other brands of yarn on their website as well, but these particular brands are their own yarn brands. So I have 2 balls of this Antarctica, and this is going to be the first one that I cast on for the next pair of socks that I make. This is the colorway Falkland, and all of these are 75-25? Yes, 75% wool, 25% nylon. This is a self-striping. This one is 2, but it's more of like a gradient self-striping. This one's called Polar. So there's 2 of these. This is gonna be my December socks for the sock theme cowl, called, the prompt is Season of Joy. Now I know that these aren't Christmas colors, but look at them. The color makes me so happy. And it's gonna definitely be self-striping. And this polar, I mean, you guys know that I love blues. So I just think, oh, these are so pretty. And when I had sent it, she was like, oh, I pick a couple of colors from each line that you like. And I was like, well, how about this one or this one? She sent both. Because I didn't know kind of what they had in stock. So definitely these are gonna be the first pair on my needles. Those are both 100-gram balls. So I have one more 100-gram ball. This is called Siberia. It is the colorway Tundra. Again, it is 75% wool, 25% nylon. It also will be self-striping, but I believe the way that these white spaces are, it's gonna have some kind of pattern on it, I would assume. So these are all from the World of Yarn, the Antarctica and Siberia. This is World of Yarn sock yarn, which is of course one of their brands. So this is 300 grams. And then she sent me 3 balls that are 50 grams each. So these two are from Happy Feet, which is another one of their brands. 75% wool, 25% nylon. This is the colorway Tutti Frutti. This may be the second pair that I cast on because, oh, look at this color. Purple and blue. You're speaking my language. And also this one, which is Rose Garden. So pretty. And then finally, there is Mayflower yarn in the colorway Lavender Field. So this is going to stripe up as well. I'm not sure exactly how it will look. We will have to find out. And of course, this is 75% superwash, 25% nylon. And actually, that's a good question to see. So these 3 are all superwash. Let me just make sure that these are. This just says 75% wool, 25% nylon, but it has this right here with a 30 degrees inside. That means it is okay to wash it at 30 degrees Celsius temperature, which is, what is that, like 90 something degrees Fahrenheit, I think. So if it doesn't say specifically on the label that it's superwash yarn, look for the washing directions. The only thing that it says you can wash it and tumble dry it. The only thing you shouldn't do, I think, is iron it. I think that's what that symbol means. So 450 grams of sock yarn. And then of course, this is Happy Feet in the colorway light gray. I just am gonna use this for contrast heels, toes, and cuffs. I think it'll look really good, especially with this. That is gonna look beautiful. And this one, and probably this one. It's just gonna look great. So I'm really, really, really excited to try this yarn, and I will be sure to let you know how it goes and how I like working with the yarn, because it's gonna be with me for a while. So as long as I like the yarn, and I can't imagine why I wouldn't, again, I'm very excited to compare it to Felici and to Serenity Sock, which is another lower price point yarn that I can access. Now, Hobie ships worldwide, and again, I said that the shipping was fairly quick. It got to me from another country in like 6 days, and it was that giant bag of yarn. And there was tracking, so I don't know like how the tracking generally works, but with the United States Postal Service, like once it leaves the country, there's no tracking for you, at least if you mail from the regular post office. So I thought it was pretty interesting that they were able to track it all the way to my doorstep. I could go online and follow its progress. So I'm excited to try it. I will let you guys know. And provided that I like everything, they may be sponsoring a prize at the end of the year for the Year of the Sock 2019. So I'm very grateful to them. And of course, as you know, I will only ever be honest with my reviews. But upon first glance and first squoosh, I am super excited to cast this on. So this will be my next pair of socks. I do want to say, my next podcast episode in 2 weeks, I don't know what that date is. I think it's the 15th. Will probably be a day late. Now, normally I record on a Friday, and then I edit it and upload it to YouTube, and it posts automatically for me the next morning. But I will be out of town that whole week. Not this week, but the next week where I would record, I will be out of town. I will be going on a missions trip to Alabama with my church. And if you don't know, I am a pastor. I work at a church in Tampa. And we go back to the same places every year for our mission trip. So we run a vacation Bible school in Alabama. So we're going to be going to Utah and to Selma. And I will be gone from Sunday through Friday night, probably at like 9 p.m. We're driving back. That's going to be like a 10-hour drive. So I won't be able to record on Friday. And I don't really want to pre-record something because I will have, hopefully, a large amount of progress to show you on some stuff. So what I'm gonna do is do my best to record on the Saturday, the day after I get back. Now, if this cold doesn't go away and I spend the whole time up there sick, it's unlikely that I will be able to record. I'm just giving you a heads up. The next episode hopefully will be no more than one day late, but if things go terribly wrong, then it may be a little bit longer before I see you again, but I will definitely be back, don't worry. I think that is all that I have to talk about. Somehow we've made it to 55 minutes without me dying. I feel like I'm dying, but you know what? It's okay. Tonight, my husband and I, what time is it? It's only 10 a.m. right now. The reason I had to get up early, even though I had today off, was because we had to go take my husband's car to the mechanic to get its brakes looked at. So I'm going to record this, I'm going to edit it, and then I'm going to go take a nap. I'm definitely going to go take a nap. Tonight, my husband and I have tickets to see Godzilla in IMAX. So exciting. So, oh, I did want to say, because I know we've talked about movies sometimes, and you guys are probably like, oh my gosh, you must spend so much money on movies. Actually, we don't. We love going to the movies, like really love it. It's one of my favorite things to do with my husband. And so when MoviePass came out a while ago, it was like pay $10 a month, get unlimited movies, essentially. Like one movie, one 2D, non-IMAX, like regular digital showing of a movie per 24-hour period. And of course that was a terrible business model, and we knew that it was going to collapse, which it did, and they had to file bankruptcy. So we still got 8 months of amazing movies out of that, and we went like at least 4 times a month. So that was totally worth it, especially considering around here, a nighttime movie ticket is like $11. And I know if you live in New York or LA or something, you're like, $11, that's nothing. But that's a lot of money. Like a matinee is generally like $6 to $8, depending on what theater you go to. So when MoviePass went under, we were like, oh, now what are we gonna do? Because that was like one of our favorite things to do together, was go to see movies, but who has like $100 a month to spend on movies? Nobody. So AMC, which is a large movie chain in America, has a AMC A-List movie subscription, and so it's $20 a month, which is still kind of a lot of money, because for 2 people that ends up being $40 a month. But we get so much use out of it. It's so worth it to us, and it's kind of like our date night. Like at least once a week we go watch a movie. And tonight we're gonna go see Godzilla, and so and there's no restrictions. So with the AMC A-List, you can see 3 movies a week, but there are no restrictions on what kind of movie. So we're gonna go see an IMAX movie, and the ticket for that is like $16.99, where it's just included in our price. So that one movie that we're going to see tonight almost completely pays for our subscription for the whole month. And in May, we at least saw 4 other movies, I would say, because generally we go on Monday nights to see movies, unless it's like some kind of a blockbuster. Like last week we saw John Wick, tonight we're seeing Godzilla, and it's the summer of movies and it's gonna be great. And I have a popcorn bucket with AMC. You pay like $20 at the beginning of the year, and then you take your popcorn bucket back, and for $4, it's like this big. It's like a vat of popcorn. I love popcorn. It is my favorite food of all time. For $4, I can get a refill. And with the AMC A-List, I can buy a medium drink, and it gets upgraded to a large. I know that they're still getting my money, okay, but I'm just okay with it because I love it so much. And it's like one of the things that my husband and I do together, and we hang out, and we just love going to the movies. So that was a long PSA about AMC A-List. I'm not like sponsored by them or trying to sell you them. I'm just saying like that's how we see so many movies. Oh God, I gotta stop talking. So if you like this video, do give me a thumbs up right down below. That helps me to know that I'm creating content that you like, and it helps YouTube to know that as well. If you would like to be kept up to date on any future videos as they come live on this channel, do hit the subscribe button down below. And I will see you in 2 weeks, possibly 2 weeks and 1 day. We will see. I will do my best to record, and hopefully, fingers crossed, this will cut it out so that I will have more time to crochet and knit and less time to sleep. Okay, until I see you again, happy crafting. I will see you in 2 weeks. Be nice to yourself. Happy summer, happy graduation if you graduated, and I will see you in a couple of weeks. Bye.